What happens the day after a dictator dies? You might imagine a solemn mourning period and an orderly transition, but the reality is often a chaotic, terrifying, and sometimes darkly absurd scramble for power. What if the best way to understand the brutal logic of a totalitarian state wasn't a dry history lecture, but a viciously funny political satire? A film shows us that the most powerful men in a police state are often reduced to a pack of panicking, backstabbing clowns the moment their master is gone. Today, we're dissecting the political science of Armando Iannucci's The Death of Stalin. Welcome back to Small Screen's Big Issues. Armando Iannucci's The Death of Stalin is more than a brilliant dark comedy. It's a near-perfect case study of power, paranoia, and collapse in a non-democratic system. In this episode, we'll use the film to explore three critical political science concepts. First, the absurd and terrifying nature of totalitarianism and the cult of personality. Second, the dangerous instability of authoritarian succession crises. And third, the raw power struggle between key pillars of the state, the party, the secret police, and the military. For those who haven't seen it, the film dramatizes the events following the death of Joseph Stalin in 1953. When the dictator suffers a cerebral hemorrhage, his top ministers are thrown into a power vacuum. What follows is a frantic battle for control between men like Nikita Khrushchev, the party's secretary, Grigory Melenkov, the initial successor, and Lavrentiy Beria, the monstrous head of the NKVD secret police. At the heart of this story is a simple question. How do you seize power in a system where there are no legitimate rules for transferring it? It's a timeless story about what happens when absolute power has no clear path of inheritance. First, the film perfectly captures the essence of totalitarianism. This isn't a simple dictatorship, it's a system that exerts total control over the citizens through a combination of pervasive state terror and, crucially, a cult of personality. The cult of personality is a political tool used to create an almost godlike, infallible public image of a leader. Stalin was the father, the genius, the wise teacher. The entire state was organized not around an ideology, but around the whims and ego of one man. In a system built on a cult of personality, the leader's slightest desire outweigh all logic, reality, and human costs. This creates an environment of surreal paranoia, where everyone's survival depends on correctly anticipating the leader's mood. And this brings us to Hannah Arendt's concept of the banality of evil. The film's antagonists are monsters responsible for mass murder, but they spend their time in petty arguments. When Beria calmly says, "I'm having a list of the dead and tortured read out on the radio, it'll take all morning," he's delivering it like he's discussing catering. The horror of the system is managed through paperwork and procedure. This is the ultimate expression of totalitarian logic. The system's ideology and its leader's infallibility must be upheld even when it's personally destroying you. It's a dynamic we've seen in North Korea and Maoist China, where survival depends not on conviction, but on constant, terrified performance. The moment Stalin dies, the film becomes a textbook example of an authoritarian succession crisis. In democratic systems, we have established rules for transferring power. Authoritarian regimes rarely do. Power is concentrated in one person, not an office. Political scientists often talk about the difference between formal and informal institutions. While the Soviet Union had a formal constitution, the real power flowed through informal channels, personal loyalties, control of security forces, and backroom deals. When Stalin dies, the formal rules are useless. It's the informal power that matters. The film shows the playbook. The first move is to seize the instruments of violence. Beria, as head of the secret police, does this almost immediately. He believes that controlling the guns means he controls the state. He also launches a series of seemingly liberal reforms, ending some prosecutions, releasing some political prisoners. This isn't because he's a reformer. It's a cynical power play designed to dismantle Stalin's legacy and to build his own. But Khrushchev plays a longer and more political game. He understands that in this environment, you need allies. He recognizes that the official successor, Melnikov, is a weak figurehead who can be manipulated. This is the core of any succession crisis. It's not about who has the best ideas, but who can build a powerful enough coalition to eliminate rivals. This pattern is repeated throughout history, from the struggles after the death of Chairman Mao in China to the violent power vacuums left in places like Libya after Gaddafi. The film is a masterclass in showing that in the absence of rules, raw power is the only thing that matters. This succession crisis plays out as battles between the three pillars of Soviet power: the Communist Party, the secret police, the NKVD, and the military, or the Red Army. A stable totalitarian regime keeps these factions in a state of constant mutual suspicion, with the dictator on top playing them off against one another. When the dictator is removed, the factions go to war. The Death of Stalin maps this conflict perfectly onto its main character's strategies. Lavrentiy Beria and the NKVD represent the state within the state. His power comes from surveillance, terror, and information. His strategy is a blitzkrieg, the use of speed and fear to secure control of Moscow and to paralyze his opponents before they can react. His fatal flaw is that he is so universally feared that he has no true allies. Nikita Khrushchev represents the party bureaucracy. His power isn't in guns, but in committees, connections, and especially in his position as party secretary. His strategy is the long game. He builds a coalition by appealing to other ministers' fear of Beria. His line, "I'm in as long as we're all in. If I'm not in, I'm out," is a perfect summary of the terrifying logic of collective action under authoritarianism. And finally, Marshal Grigory Zhukov represents the Red Army, the state's monopoly on legitimate, conventional force. He's initially sidelined, but Khrushchev realizes he needs the army's muscle to counter Beria's secret police. The film's climax, the party and the army forming an alliance to liquidate the head of the secret security services, is a classic authoritarian endgame where bureaucratic power aligns with military might to destroy the threat of the secret police. So, what's the big takeaway from The Death of Stalin? The film uses comedy to expose the profound fragility of authoritarianism. It looks like an unbreakable iron fist from the outside, but it's often a chaotic, brittle system held together by the fear of one person. By making these historical monsters seem petty, insecure, and almost pathetic, the film doesn't diminish their crimes. Instead, it demystifies their power. It shows us that totalitarianism isn't some supernatural evil. It's a system built by humans and undone by the human flaws of greed, ambition, and paranoia. And in an age where authoritarianism is resurgent globally, the lessons of the film are more important than ever. The film gives us a model for understanding the opaque power struggles we read about in places like Russia or North Korea. It reminds us that behind the stoic propaganda and military parades often lies a nest of terrified, backstabbing rivals. It teaches us that the greatest threat to a dictator is often the ambitious lieutenant standing right behind them. Thanks for watching. It's a dark film, but a brilliant piece of political analysis. Next time, we're trading gulags for cubicles as we explore corporate power and the nature of identity in the brilliant series Severance. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What other film do you think uses comedy to explore a serious political issue? Let me know your pick in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this analysis, please subscribe for more Small Screens, Big Issues. I'll see you in the next video.